everyone, and welcome to OT 245, Introduction to Research Methodology. Today's lecture is kind of part 2 of Quantitative Designs, and it is on small-scale quantitative designs. My name is Melissa Kay. I'll be your instructor. Our objectives today are just two. The first is to describe small-scale quantitative design characteristics. That's a little bit of a tongue twister. And the second is to explain how small-scale quantitative design integrates with practice. Because what we find is we use small-scale designs more often in practice. All right, here's our handy pyramid. And remember last lecture on larger scale experimental and quasi-experimental designs, we were up at the top with systematic reviews, randomized controlled trials, etc. Now we're down in the pink area of case-controlled studies and case series and reports. So less rigorous quality, but potentially a lot more accessible for the OT practitioner to engage in research. All right, our first types of studies are case reports and case series reports. So it, as I just said, is the bottom of the research hierarchy. It doesn't mean we're bottom feeders or anything, but it is not as rigorous. There's no comparison group. In a case report, we're looking at the behavior of one client, and in a case series report, we'll be looking at more than one client. So we'll be looking at a series of clients, but not necessarily comparing them. In single subject studies, we have an N or a sample size of 1. And single subject methodology works by designing an experiment where instead of having a control group of subjects and an experimental group of subjects or participants and comparing their results, the control and experimental measures come from within a single person. Researchers measure the metric of interest before introducing the experimental factor, and they get a kind of a control or a baseline, right? And then they measure the metric of interest after introducing the independent variable or the experimental factor, and then they see what happens. While studies may include more than one subject, each subject is treated as a unique case, not different participants in a larger experiment. So that is a notable difference. Criteria for single subject study. There are frequent and repeated measures of the dependent variable, and that may be like within a treatment session, it may be over a period of a month, it may be over a period of days, but it's considered frequent. The control, the manipulation of treatment and analysis of effects are controlled as much as possible to prevent confounding variables from intervening in that single subject study. Number 3, there are very clear target behaviors that are operationally defined. And remember, we looked at operational definitions, right? So we want to be super clear about what we're looking for and how we know when we find it. Number 4 is that continuous measurements are taken through each phase of the study. So we're measuring the dependent variable in step 1. In step 4, we're measuring a whole bunch of stuff throughout the study, and measuring continues until the design requirements are satisfied. So it really depends on what we're looking for and how we design the study. There's only one intervention at a time so that we can focus on that independent variable or that particular intervention. There's controls put in place to prevent confounding variables from intervening, and data collection methods are reliable and replicable. So we're not just making it up as we go along, we're actually using methods that are kind of tried and true. Here's a visual of the effect of verbal feedback on the number of activity repetitions. And this is a single subject study, you can see on the left-hand side, there's activity repetitions from 0 to 16. And then on the bottom, there's baseline, which is the A section. And notice there's that line in between. And there's the intervention, which is B. Now remember, we get a baseline before we put the intervention in place, right? So the baseline has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 different measurements, as noted by those points that are joined together in a line. And then the intervention has a number of times of measurement as well. And notice when we put the intervention in place, the activity repetitions go up. On our baseline, it doesn't, and we don't expect it will go up because we're not putting in place any treatment or intervention. This is a different type of design called withdrawal design, and again, the effect of verbal feedback on a number of activity repetitions. So the same content of the study. Again, the activity repetitions are on the left, 0 to 16, and then on different days, we do either the intervention or A or intervention B. So day A is the baseline again. Day B, we do the intervention. The second day A, right? So that third column, we withdraw the intervention and performance declines again, right? And then the second day B, we put the intervention back in and performance goes up. So hopefully I didn't confuse you. The first day A is baseline. The first day B is let's give verbal feedback and see how many activity repetitions happen, right? So I say, good job. Can you try that again, right? So repetitions go up. Then I go back to not giving verbal feedback. Performance declines. The second B day, I give verbal feedback again. And once again, we see the activity repetitions increase. The advantages of single subject design are that practitioners can do them. They're practitioner oriented, and that's really good because we don't have a lot of OTs who are just researchers, right? We're academics and we're teaching, we're practitioners in the field, we're managers, we wear a lot of different hats, and researcher is just one of them. Also, assessment and outcome information can be provided. We can monitor and evaluate our own practice. It's a source of hypotheses for us. Does this work? Let me check it out. Let me put into place a single subject design or a repeat withdrawal design. So we can see what happens over time with our existing clients. We can also challenge clinical theories, like if a hospital has been using a particular type of intervention and we're like, I don't know about that. We can try something different and we can challenge what exists. We can also document the benefits of intervention, and we can advance our own discipline or field. So a lot of different advantages. There's some more listed for you in the presenter notes of this slide deck. So have a look at that. And and I also I did an article on single subject design and practitioners and how we can make it more accessible. So even though it's down on that pyramid, it's not very high on the hierarchy, it can be very helpful for practitioners. So don't discount it without exploring it. All right. And then, of course, there's disadvantages of single subject design. Two prime disadvantages. One is that we cannot generalize. So if I have an N or a sample size of 1, I can't generalize to the whole population of people, right? All I can do is say, I did this thing with this one person and this is what happened. When we have a number of single subject designs of the same intervention, then we can start we can start feeling like our observations are a little bit stronger, right? Because one person or 10 different people had the same experience, but still generalization is difficult. Also, single subject design requires careful statistical analysis, right? We can't just throw everything into our statistical software program and come up with a mean and a standard deviation. It needs to be more careful than that, and that can be tricky. All right, this was short and sweet. You're all done. So this is smaller scale quantitative studies. And if you have questions, please bring them to class. We'll also review the high points of this lecture, and I will see you real soon. Thanks a lot, everyone. Bye-bye.